Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1.
Feet with me. Identify a shot.
So, Joey, what are your thoughts on the Mayweather-McGregor fight?
You know, I think that it's a spectacle, and I think that, you know, for good reason, people want to see it very bad. I want to see it very bad. The press conferences have been exciting, but as far as the actual competition aspect of it, I just think that it's an uphill battle, I think, for Conor, because obviously, you know, he's never fought before. We, you know, talked about already. I think that the time, even the time of the fight, the fact that he's, as a young fighter, we work up our whole lives. I've been fighting since I was a little kid. We work up our whole lives to fight 12 3-minute rounds eventually. He's got one camp. He went from fighting 5-minute rounds. He's got one camp to learn how to fight 12 3-minute rounds. And if Floyd, I think the fight will go the distance between Floyd and him. You know what I mean? And unless he gets so tired, because you know he's going to get gassed. He's going to gas out in this fight. Floyd's good at gassing you out too, because he doesn't waste energy. So he's prime when you get tired. And most guys try to rush him, and he's saying that he's going to try and rush him. There's the fact that Conor is a natural counterpuncher, even in the UFC, but he's countering guys who don't know how to fight, box. So he's not going to counter Floyd. So he's saying that he's going to all of a sudden go and muscle him and jump on him. I don't really see that happening because he's a counterpuncher, so he'd have to change basically everything in one camp. I just don't really see how that works, you know what I mean? I don't see how it's going to be a crash course, I guess. They've probably been working on it for since they started talking about the fight, but no amount of time for him right now is the right amount of time. You know, Floyd was born into this sport, you know what I mean? It's in his DNA. I just don't, it's not going to happen.
What's Floyd's,
you know, I don't think.
Even at age 40, what's Floyd's best weapon?
At age 40, I think still his stamina is his best weapon. You know what I mean? I think it always has been his best weapon. But other than that, his sniper right hand, his Philly shell, and he's able to adjust. He's able to adjust on the fly. You know, no matter what Conor comes out and does. Floyd's been hurt before, and they never could stop him. Most of the time he's hurt, you don't even realize he's hurt until you watch his fight over and over again. So even if Conor hurts him, I guarantee you he doesn't drop him. And even if he did drop him, Floyd's going to adjust. So, I mean, if you're a boxer, you can, you know, if we were talking about a boxer, if we were talking about the best fighters in the world right now, I'd still be saying I think Floyd's going to win. It's just a spectacle to see what Conor can do. I don't think it's necessarily if he can win. I think it's to see what he comes with, what his game plan is, what their style is in this fight. If he tries to fight like an awkward UFC fighter, or if he tries to be all of a sudden a boxer. If he does that, then he's really jacked. If he has a chance...
That's what CANELO did to Floyd. He tried to outbox him.
If he has any chance, he needs to be as... And I tell people this isn't like as much of an easy fight as people think, because if Conor comes out to be as awkward as possible, like I've said before, Floyd fighting like a really good boxer, sometimes the hardest fighters for them to fight is an unorthodox fighter who hasn't been fighting very long, who fights weird and doesn't have good timing, and his punches don't come at times that you're really expecting, because Floyd's spent his whole life fighting boxers who have fought fighting boxers who know how to box. You know what I mean? Their punches come in good at times that you can account for, you can adjust, you can do this. But if Conor comes out and doesn't try to do that, like, he needs to not try to be like a box. Just, okay, now I gotta get my hands where they're supposed to be. I need to move my head how a boxer would. He needs to move his head how he would in the UFC ring. I saw it from what little I've seen of Conor in the UFC ring. He gets real low with his legs, and he's got his hands down, like kind of like a Roy Jones type thing, and he tries to pull back and counter. I think do that all night. Don't try to change much. Just go out there and stand up the way you normally would, fight how you normally would, and that's his best shot. If he can really, like, if Floyd's like, man, I've never seen this before, this dude is awkward, but doubt it. But, you know, it could happen. I mean, it could happen for a second. I'm not saying it could happen like he could win, but he might be able to, at least for a little bit, have Floyd thinking. So that's how I feel about it.
Now, the confidence is definitely seems there for Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen to the confidence in the later rounds if he hasn't hurt Floyd?
I think that's the key. If he can hurt Floyd early, I think Conor's the type of guy that you don't want to let gain momentum, you know, because I think he's so confident that if he can gain momentum, then it's going to keep building throughout the fight. And a guy like Conor, you don't want him to be comfortable, you know what I mean? So if he doesn't hurt him, I see him getting really uncomfortable in the late rounds and really frustrated. And I can already say the post-fight, I think, is going to be really interesting, like as far as like the interview and stuff, because he's going to start making a lot of excuses about how it wasn't a real fight and all this stuff, and he's going to start probably calling him into the UFC ring, I bet. He's probably going to, right afterwards, call Floyd in the UFC ring. You know, I think he's going to start making some heavy excuses after the fight because he's probably going to be frustrated, you know.
Now, speaking of that confidence, I've seen some interviews during the press tour where Conor McGregor was saying he runs Showtime, he runs boxing, and he could, like, I forgot the exact word he said, but I think he said he can, like, blast or spark Canelo Alvarez even.
Yeah, he said that.
So how would that play out? Conor McGregor versus Canelo Alvarez.
I think that'd be
boxing.
So much worse for Floyd. I mean, for Conor. It'd be so much worse for Conor. I think.
Why?
Like, he's lucky he's in there with, of all boxers, he's lucky he's in there with Floyd, because Floyd's just gonna pick him apart and embarrass him. But if you want to really get beaten down, then Canelo, because Canelo's as his size, you know what I mean, if not a little bigger, and he's going for the kill. And if you got a guy who's going for the kill, I hope Floyd goes for the kill in this fight. But if you got a guy like you know, Canelo, who goes for the kill, it's gonna be and puts his body work together and puts his combinations together, body head. It's gonna be really, really bad for Conor. He's gonna wish he never even, you know, probably stepped in the ring with Canelo if he ever fought Canelo. It's just my opinion.
Canelo would knock him out?
I think it'd be like a one punch. Like, I think he might get really, because his chin's gonna be open. Canelo's gonna end up hitting you. I think it'd be a one punch. Like
a one punch ending?
Yeah.
One hitter quitter?
It's gotta be. You know, it's gotta be. I believe.
Now, what do you think, Paulie Malignaggi? How is that as far as the look? Obviously, Paulie knows boxing. He's a great commentator.
Yeah.
What do you think in sparring? He's retired. He's not necessarily, he admitted he's not in the best shape. How is that to prep for Floyd?
I think it's decent, you know. I think they got the right idea. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to find somebody slick who's going to move, use defense. I think there was, if I think about the options out there to spar, I think that's a pretty good choice. You know what I mean? I don't know what kind of shape Paulie's in, but, you know, if he says he wasn't in the best shape, then that might play a factor. But as far as the look, it's pretty good. I was saying on the live, I think that me and my dad think that I should spar Conor McGregor for this fight. You know, even me being young, I've been using the Philly shell since I was just a little kid. Grew up in Michigan in the Midwest, where they teach that, you know, frequently to a lot of the young fighters. Peter Quillen even uses it sometimes, just being from Grand Rapids. You know, everybody who comes out of Michigan really has somewhat of an understanding of how to use it, and I really took it and used it frequently throughout my whole amateur career, everything. If you go watch me on YouTube, you see that, like, you know, I fight I took that aspect from Floyd and used it for myself, just keeping the shoulder high. And then I bring a little bit more, kind of like at the beginning of Bronner's career, how he used the Philly, but he was a little more offensive-minded. Like, I like to take things from everybody. So, like, that part, the defensive part I took from Floyd, and even right now from Ward and Spence, seeing how they're working the body. I like to dig with the body. I like to, use a good jab. So there's and Floyd used the jab, but not as frequently as I take the jab from like McGill Cotto, who was just constantly using the jab, the body work, but then also the Philly shell and the counters and off the shoulder rolling. So I think that, who else would be good sparring for him? Maybe even bring in like Tevin Farmer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, you know what I mean? Someone who uses it. You really got to just spend as much time as possible against the Philly. And Paulie doesn't really use that. You know what I mean? It's not just, you don't just need to spar a slick boxer for Floyd. You need to spar someone who really is good at it, not just who can go in there and mimic it. You know what I mean? Someone who came up using it,
who's effective,
studied it, affected it, effective with it. So who else is out there who uses the Philly? Not a lot of people, use it, but like someone who's good with it. You know what I mean? And I think Tevin Farmer actually is a good idea. You know what I mean? James Toney had to lose a little bit of weight if he went in there with him.
James Toney would knock out her.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But he was one of the best ever with the Philly.
One of the best for sure.
Really good with it. Like, he was clean with it, and he used –
that's kind of what I mean. He was super offensive with it, too.
Offensive. That's the point. He used a lot of
his looked effortless. Like, he didn't look like he was even trying to dodge shots, but he would.
But he would. He was clean with it, man. Like, one of the ones who really – put that on the map, you know what I mean? It was like Verge was doing some like film, like showing us some film, some of the old fighters, like the old fighters who I wouldn't even be able to tell you their names at this point, like really old fighters, like back in Joe Lewis's day and stuff like that, and Ray Robinson's day, but like the other guys, you know what I mean? The guys who, a lot of people used the Philly effectively back then, and then it came back, over time. You know what I mean? It came back, people started using it. Floyd making it more famous, James Toney making it more famous. So it's an effective way to fight. You know what I mean? It really is. It's an effective way to fight. Not a lot of people are using it. A lot of people who are coming up right now are using more the high guard, the traditional way of fighting, which is good too, obviously.
What do you think is the best punch for a southpaw with power that likes to counter? Would it be like an uppercut or jab? What would you
ask that question one more time?
Conor McGregor's a kind of a counter-punching, kind of aggressive southpaw.
Okay.
What do you think for an orthodox fighter? What's the best punch that you would probably constantly try to shoot?
Zab Judah kind of used, like you said, the step-back uppercut, which is like kind of like this, that was like his signature punch. He used that left-hand uppercut a lot, you know what I mean, from the southpaw position. Gave Floyd some trouble, worked that in with the straight left. And maybe that, you know what I mean, with Conor's awkward style, if he could, maybe time Floyd with an uppercut, from the southpaw with the left-hand uppercut. What else? From a southpaw stance, also a check right hook is really good. Floyd likes to time and kind of lean in with the straight right hand. And what I've noticed is a lot of amateur southpaws do is they'll constantly just going back to the check right, and they'll just slap you with it, you know what I mean, and move you over. But it's got some power on it too, if you can time it right. So right hook, maybe left uppercut for his power, I think, and obviously the straight left.
What about the reverse of that? So for the orthodox, what are Floyd's money punches?
Floyd's just a killer with the straight right, you know what I mean? He's always had that timing down. So there's that, and then right hand to the body is a big one. Because Floyd likes to use, against an orthodox fighter, he likes to use the jab of the body, which is the solar plex shot that takes his wind away, messes with their stamina down in the later rounds. Against a southpaw, if you notice, or if you go back and watch Floyd's fight against even Zab or or Manny, or
he did it versus Maidana too.
And against Maidana, you throw the right hand. You know what I mean? So a southpaw, it's going to be harder to hit that solar plex with the jab of the body. He'll still use it, but he'll hit him on the side more. So he'll throw the right hand to the body to kind of make up for the jab of the body loss when you fight a southpaw. So those are two good shots. You know, working up, down with the right hand upstairs, and then go downstairs, and then let it come back around. So, yeah.
Now, are you gonna watch the fight?
Of course, yeah, of course. I look forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Where can the fans follow you?
At Joey D. Spencer on Instagram. Look me up on YouTube, Joey Spencer on Facebook, all that.
You guys heard it, Boxingego, Joey Spencer.